Hello everyone, it's Dragon Rider, and in this video I'm going to be opening this Legends of the Force pre-release box on this beautiful playmat. Both of these were sent to me from Fantasy Flight Games and the team at Star Wars Unlimited, so thank you so much to them. But it is pre-release weekend, and I figured, I would show opening the pre-release box and kind of show my process for building a sealed deck and kind of talk about some of the things that I'm going to be looking for specifically for Legends of the Force and sealed events. So let's get this open. We're going to get our 6 booster packs. And we've got our 2 leaders. So we've got our Darth Maul and our Qui-Gon Jinn. These are the 2 kind of base leaders for the set. These are also the same as the Spotlight decks. So if you're interested in getting into the game, the Spotlight decks are also great. But these are kind of the basis for our leaders. So what I do is I just kind of set those aside. And as we open these packs, we're going to sort the cards by their aspect, setting aside the leaders and the bases. Now with sealed events, you get to choose from the leader and the bases that you open. The kind of base, regular bases, you can get one of an aspect that you didn't open, but it's a little bit different for this set, because in the past they've kind of been 30 health vanilla bases, but for this set, the kind of standard, I want to say like vanilla style base, are all of these that have, when a friendly Force unit attacks, the Force is with you. So you get to create your Force token. The Force token is the big thing in Legends of the Force, so we're definitely going to need to be creating those Force tokens to use. So again, I'm just going to kind of set my leaders and my bases aside, kind of look through and see what I get. Just kind of taking a look at if there's any standout cards. I really do want to look for upgrades, I think. In this set specifically, I'm going to be looking for Force things that use the Force token. I'm going to be looking for upgrades and ambush. There's also a lot of kind of draw mechanics. So here's the when played, you may use the Force. And if you do, give a shield token to each of up to 5 units. Very powerful effect, very costly. Probably not playing that one in a sealed event. Usually it's a little bit lower curve. And we actually did open up a special base. So it's only 25 health, but it does have an action here. The Force is with you. Create a Force token. Use this ability no more than 3 times each game. So we are allowed to use that in a sealed event as long as we open it in our 6 packs. And then we got a Drain Essence, which I am a fan of this card. So when sorting your cards, there's 2 ways to do it. I've seen people do it both ways. You can kind of sort your cards pack by pack, or you can open all 6 packs and then sort them out. I kind of like to sort them as I go. So what I usually do is I do like neutrals, villainy, and heroism kind of down. And then across I do the 4 aspects. Okay, second pack. So we have Morgan Elsbeth, As an action, you can exhaust this, choose a friendly unit that attacked this phase, play a unit from your hand that shares a keyword with the chosen unit, and it costs one less. Costing one less can definitely be nice, especially in sealed. It allows you to play additional cards per turn or get something out a little bit earlier than you normally would. Sharing a keyword might be a little bit difficult in sealed, but that's definitely something that you can look at in your card pool. All right. So here's another ambush card. Small ambush, but can definitely help finish something off or hit into something that has 2 health. Another ambush. Hidden is also something that's new. Pretty good for sealed, I feel like. Hidden, this can't be attacked if it was played this phase. So it definitely helps you keep stuff on the board a little bit longer to be able to play upgrades, to be able to play potential combos, buffs, different things on some of your units. Big stats. Cure Wounds, another card that uses the Force. Ki-Adi-Mundi, 3 lessons. Another expensive card. Also kind of requires some synergy with having droid units. Does say friendly droid units gain raid 2, but it is some big stats. And each friendly unit's raid is doubled. A little bit costly at 6, but definitely something that can be played. Okay, next pack. Got Obi-Wan Kenobi. Action, you exhaust and use the Force. Give an experience token to a unit without an experience token on it. Comes out on the 5 resource turn. Also, another thing I really like to see in sealed for my leaders is a good mix of the aspects, so I have a lot of choices. Some more upgrades with sabers. Protect the Pod. A friendly non-vehicle unit deals damage equal to its remaining HP to an enemy unit. Something like this definitely can be great in sealed, especially with all of the creature units and things like that that are non-vehicle in this set. But dealing some damage to an enemy unit and being able to remove those with a card definitely can be very, very helpful. Supremacy. It is a legendary, very big ship. Probably not something we're actually going to get to play in sealed. It does have ambush, but it is 12 cost. So very likely not getting there in sealed format. Sealed, again, usually lower curve, a bit faster decks. Okay, 4th pack. Grand Inquisitor. Again, kind of a variety of leaders that we're getting, so that's good. Another one that has an exhaust and use the Force effect. Another monkey lizard. Just a small ambush. It's worse than defeat a non-leader unit. Very strong effect, but also very expensive. So maybe in some sort of control deck that's going to take the game a little bit longer, this can be used. Jedi Guardian, a very solid kind of mid-game card. I don't know why my camera doesn't want to focus. There you go. Well, this unit is defending. It gets +2/+0, making it a 6/8 for only 5 when it's defending. Another hidden. Again, more kind of removal, but expensive. Some exhaust, and a friendly unit gains Sentinel for this phase. Definitely can create a little bit of stall. Just stalling out, or just exhausting an enemy unit for the sake of not taking some damage, being able to push some of your own damage. Very good for cheap. Here's one of those buff cards I was talking about with Rampage. Each friendly creature unit gets +2/+2 for this phase. Darth Revan's lightsabers, more upgrades. Fantastic. And a shielded unit. Very solid option for sealed. Just playing out a body with a shield or giving shields. Alright, 5th pack. We have an Anakin Skywalker. So we have a heroism leader here. Again, another one with an action to exhaust and use the Force. You get to play a villainy non-unit card from your hand, ignoring its aspect penalties. This definitely is very interesting in the sealed format. Getting to add in, even if you add in just 2 or 3 of those villainy cards that are non-unit cards, definitely could be helpful. Something like the Darth Revan's lightsabers that we just opened is a villainy non-unit card. So that would be something you can consider. Really add some versatility to the deck building, especially if you kind of feel like you're a couple cards short of building your 30-card deck. All right. Curious Flock is one that you can build up. Pretty good option for various points in the game. Honestly, this is something that I feel like for sealed, even as a 3/3 or 4/4 unit, you can play this out pretty nicely and just have another body on the board. It is a creature, so maybe if you're playing with Rampage in command, you can do that. But just can be some solid stats. You are paying for those stats, but this might be something that you want to include if you feel like you need some more units. Another lightsaber. Here's another, on attack and when defeated, the Force is with you, so you're creating that Force token. Very powerful unit with Overwhelm. And kind of, when played and when defeated, you may use the Force. If you don't, deal 9 damage to your base, so there is some kind of give and take there. Shinhani. Zuckuss. So another legendary, but the downside to this one is it is a double aspect card, and those are typically much harder to use in sealed formats. So this might be an option if you have a ton of cunning cards and you can manage to build like a full cunning deck. But again, in sealed, that's very difficult. And if you don't, you can still play it, but you have to pay for that aspect penalty. So it's going to cost 7 instead of 5, which might not be worth it. And another small overwhelm creature, not bad option as well. Okay, and our last pack. This has actually been decently even, I feel like. We're not really getting a ton more of one aspect than the other. I think the lowest aspect we have is aggression here in the red. And our last leader, Kit Fisto. Speaking of aggression, if you attacked with a Jedi unit this phase, deal 2 damage to a unit. I love this effect. Kit Fisto is one of my favorite leaders for this set, personally. Also comes out at 5. The only downside, I feel like, is having to have enough Jedi units to really kind of be able to effectively use this, or use this on maybe not every single turn, but almost every single turn. Alright, and then another base. Another Curious Flock. Youngling Padawan, another one that helps create your Force token. And here's another one that uses your Force token. Just some stats. All right. And Ataru Onslaught. Ready a Force unit with 4 or less power. Pretty cool card. The downside is it does have to be a Force unit, so that's something that you'll want to kind of look through as you put your deck together. Okay, so these are all of the cards to build our deck. So again, we need a leader and a base, and then to look through. Sometimes I might have an idea of what I want to do aspect-wise based on the cards that I pulled. If I pulled a certain number of like cards that I feel like are really good. In this case, as I mentioned, cards that give you the Force token or use your Force token. That's going to be something that we want to look for. Ambush is something that's really good in sealed. And I think even like Overwhelm, unless you want to go the opposite route and go for a more control style deck, you're going to look for healing, you're going to look for removal, things that stall like exhaust or bounce types effects that put units back in hand or something to that effect. I don't feel like I got a ton of cards like that this time around. I feel like if anything to me that stands out is Drain Essence. Deal 2 damage to a unit. The Force is with you, so you create your Force token. Nice little ping there. We did get 3 of those as well. So instantly I kind of want to do that, but we'll see what else we get because can't just go off of these cards. I also have to go off my leaders. So if I wanted to do that, I instantly have to start looking at Villainy, probably. because Ahsoka is heroism. So I'd have to find a villainy leader that I want to play, which severely limits our options. We have the Darth Maul, we have Morgan Elsbeth, or Grand Inquisitor. So then I can kind of pull those aside and say, okay, well, if I want to play the Vigilance, the blue, with one of these villainy leaders, then my options are a blue base with Grand Inquisitor for cunning, a blue base with Morgan Elsbeth for command, or a blue base with Darth Maul for aggression. So then I have to look at the rest of my cards and kind of decide what fits with that. Again, as I mentioned, I think aggression is the cards that I got the least amount of, so it might be difficult to actually build my deck this way if I wanted to go aggression. So Darth Maul might be kind of out. And as I mentioned when I opened Morgan Elsbeth, I'll have to look and see how many cards have the same keyword. Because that is a requirement. You do have to play a card from your hand that shares a keyword with the chosen unit, and then it costs one less. So that's something we'll have to look at. So instantly, my attention is kind of drawn to Grand Inquisitor because of just the way that my pool of cards kind of came about and how many cards I have to play with to actually build a deck. And I feel like the Grand Inquisitor's ability of using that force token to attack with a friendly unit and give the defender minus attack is pretty solid. There's no special requirement, it's just a friendly unit, so it doesn't have to be a certain trait, which is nice. It's a little bit more flexible, which is great in sealed. And being able to subtract attack on the defender means it's more likely that your units are going to live, so you actually can have your units stick around a little bit longer. So honestly, if I'm looking at playing Vigilance, I might actually go Grand Inquisitor and play a villainy yellow-blue deck. So if that's the route we were going to take, let's take a look at the cards here, because I think we have some decent options as well for cards. Again, I mentioned Drain Essence, which is our 3 Vigilance villainy cards here. All 3 copies, Drain Essence. I love this card. So you're getting to deal 2 damage, and the force is with you, which is also very nice with being able to create that force token because your leader ability is using that force token. So the more times that we're able to create that force token to have for our leader ability, that means that we can keep that going and use that ability every turn. So if we were going to do that, we would take a look at all of these Vigilance and Vigilance Villainy, and we'd take a look at these Cunning and Cunning Villainy cards, in addition to our just plain Villainy, and then any like neutral cards that we might want. Even though I did say we don't have a ton of aggression cards, we do have a couple of kind of strong ones. Thinking things like the Savage Opress, which is a really cool card. It does cost 6, but very likely the game is going to go to 6. Very powerful stats with that Overwhelm. And you can use the Force. If you don't, deal 9 damage to your base. So that's kind of a give and take. You can choose to actually just take the 9 to your base, as long as it's not going to kill you and end the game. You don't want to do that. But using that Force token when it's played and when defeated gives you that very strong Overwhelm. And 6 health is kind of a little bit difficult to deal with. So that's definitely something. We could still play Grand Inquisitor and go aggression. Or if we were even considering aggression, we could look at Darth Maul and stick with that. Action exhaust, use the force, deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a different unit. Does come out at 6, so a little bit slower, but some ping to some different units is pretty nice. And then we could still pair this with the Vigilance and still use like Drain Essence. So that definitely could be something. As I mentioned, because I did get fewer of the aggression cards to build the deck, we'd either have to pair it with the Vigilance, which I did, looks like, get the most of. We'd probably have to fill a little bit with some neutral cards, but that's okay. If we're looking at like the Hyena Bomber along with Darth Maul's ability, definitely dealing a lot of like ping damage. So that could be something we want to do. Did get a little bit of expensive stuff here, at least with the Invasion Control Ship. Again, though, big stats. So my experience across all of the different sets is that typically in Sealed, the games do not go as long as they can in Constructed, which is why I typically try to recommend not playing a bunch of super expensive cards. It's not terrible to add in maybe a couple. I would recommend maybe 2 to 4 of like 6+ cost cards. That's not a terrible ratio for Sealed, but in this set specifically, because our kind of vanilla, I want to say vanilla, but they're not really like vanilla in the classic term, because they do actually have text on them, but our kind of generic bases to use are only 28 health instead of 30. So that does help the games actually end maybe slightly faster as well. Which, again, if the games are already going kind of fast and then you have a little bit less health on your base, then maybe putting in a bunch of higher cost stuff, probably not going to be the best idea. So I like to keep it to a fairly like mid-range style deck for Sealed events, depending on the leader as well. Sometimes the leader might come out a little bit slower, and then you might be able to get away with a little bit more high cost curve in some of your cards, like Darth Maul not coming out till 6. So you might want to build the deck in a way where, you know, like I said, with Hyena Bomber and with Darth Maul's effect, you're dealing damage to units. So you're kind of trying to keep units off of the board, control the board a little bit, stall the game out. If you're going to go that, again, dealing 2 damage to a unit with Drain Essence, you could pair it here. And then you're really trying to do a lot of damage to units, kind of keep them off the board as long as possible. The game definitely could go a little bit longer if you're able to do that. Restoring health, there's Sentinel. 5 isn't terribly slow, especially if you're pairing it with something like Darth Maul that doesn't even flip until the next turn. Heal 6 damage from a unit, so you can try to keep something on the board. That pairs great with something like the Graceful Purgil. Shielded units. You could play these Priestess. We got a couple of them in the polls. So maybe you want to do this. Give shield tokens to your units. Make it harder for your opponent to kind of answer the board. But I feel like if you're actually building this style deck with this Darth Maul, you're putting in these Drain Essences, you're pinging, you've got some other units, you're playing Sentinel. If you get to the point where you're playing Priestess of the Force and you're getting on board and put a bunch of shield tokens out on your units, you're probably winning that game anyways. So honestly, I would maybe put one of these in. I wouldn't put both. I would build this in a way where we kind of top out at that. And okay, it's a big unit on its own, and you're putting out some shields, sure. But again, at that point, I wouldn't be playing it to like. I feel like I'd already be winning the game if I get to that point and put a 4 or 5 shields out. Because that means you're already kind of in control of the board with that many units, and it's going to be harder for your opponent to deal with it. Watto is definitely a good one on attack. An opponent chooses one. You give an experience token to a friendly unit, or you draw a card. So either way, you're getting a benefit when Watto attacks. Only one attack there, but you are getting some benefits. Tauntaun, pretty solid, kind of early to mid-game units. And Awakened Spectres, vanilla body, but decent stats. Definitely still can create a threat. So I might actually look at playing something like this. Maybe with the Darth Maul and playing Aggression and Vigilance, and then filling in with a couple of these. I might throw in the Curious Phlox, probably play the Monkey Lizard to control the board early, attack into something. Being able to play the Monkey Lizards and attack into like a 3-2 body, very good. Very good, like, trade that way. And then, whether we were playing Darth Maul or Grand Inquisitor, we have the HK-87 Assassin Droids. We did open a couple of those, so you can definitely play those as well. Deal 2 damage to each ground unit. Again, more kind of ping, more damage that's going out. We have the lightsabers, which we want. You can return a force unit and a lightsaber upgrade from your discard pile to your hand. Again, that kind of keeps the game going a little bit, gives you more stuff to do. Sand Trooper Cavalry, not a terrible body as well. And Fallen Jedi, just a vanilla body as well you can put in if you need some more units. So there's definitely a couple different deck options. Again, I'm kind of gravitating towards using Vigilance and using these Drain Essence, but there's different ways to use it and different combinations with these leaders. So I think after kind of talking through it, I would probably land on Darth Maul or Grand Inquisitor. I do really kind of like the Savage Oppress and the Hyena Bomber effects in there, along with some of this other ping and removal with the Darth Maul. So I probably would land on using Darth Maul. Even though it is kind of the base, like, starter leader, they can still do very well and hold their own. They're not just made for, like, starter decks. So, yeah, that is kind of my process, and that's what I'm looking for in terms of this set specifically for Legends of the Force. Let me know in the comments below what kind of deck you think you would build out of this pool of cards, and what leaders are you looking for when you open your cards and play some of your pre-releases? Are there any you're excited for? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've made it this far in the video, I super, super appreciate you. It's always fantastic when people watch the entire video, so thank you so much. And again, thank you to FFG for sending me all of this stuff. I'm excited for Legends of the Force. Using that Force token is a cool concept, so I'm excited to see how it goes in Star Wars Unlimited. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.